Joe, are we ready to start the meeting?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I would remind every committee member, as well as Attorney Del Campo, to have their camera on during the meeting, and we can call the meeting to order. And if you're not speaking, if you could please mute your microphone.
Your Honor is here. Judge Aaron, I think she couldn't make it. Judge Armada.
Present.
Judge Chaplin.
Here.
Judge Green.
Here.
Judge Maturowski.
Here.
Judge McLaughlin.
Here.
Judge Pearson.
Here.
Judge Stewart.
Here.
That's it, Your Honor. You do have a quorum.
All right, thank you. And I think the first item on our agenda is the approval of minutes, first from October 21st, 2024. And Attorney Del Campo, could you just report on the change to those minutes?
Yes, Your Honor. Those were approved last meeting. I just put them back on because to clarify for the record that Judge Maturowski had abstained from that vote. That wasn't clear during the last session. So I just wanted to make it clear. So we would put that back in, we would put that in the minutes.
All right. Is there any discussion for that, or we can just stay with the original approval with that amendment, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So thank you for explaining the October 21 item. Now we have the approval of the minutes from November 18th. And with respect to it, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
It's Judge Armada. Is there a second?
Second.
Judge Maturowski. Are there any changes or additions to the minutes?
Your Honor, if I might, because of what we did with the October minutes, citing Judge Maturowski's abstention, I will add that to these minutes because these are approving those minutes, and we need to just add that into the first minute there that Judge Maturowski abstained to the October 21st minutes.
Okay. Anyone else with any changes or discussion on the minutes?
I have one more, Your Honor.
Okay.
On the Appendix A, the first page, I just want to point out that because what you voted on last meeting with respect to 2-30, because you're basically, well, you're removing what is subsection B. In the original text that was submitted, it said A, B, and then it said C. Attorney Harrington pointed out to me that we need to delete C. So what is now C will become B, and I made that technical amendment here. So it's not exactly what you had in front of you before, but it's just the reality of what should have been, really.
Okay. Any further discussion or any additional changes? All in favor, say aye or raise your hand. Okay. Anyone saying nay or no? All right. Is there anyone who's abstaining? And I'll try to remember that. Okay, Judge
Yes.
Pearson is abstaining.
Judge Pearson's abstaining because I was not present at the November 18th meeting. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And the minutes are approved with the changes noted by Attorney Del Campo and Judge Pearson. All right. That moves us on to our other agenda items. And the first one is 2024-001, which is the proposal to add the principles of professionalism adopted by the CBA to our practice book. The attorneys at Judicial who've been assisting us came up with the language as well as some of the placement where we had discussed putting it below the oath, but above the rules of professional conduct. It would not be part of the oath per se. And I'm going to open it up for discussion. And does anyone want to comment on what has been proposed? I don't know if Attorney Sullivan's here. He usually comes in
I
on
am,
this.
Your Honor.
Okay,
Your Honor, there was one thing that I was tasked with was to get from the CBA authorization, a letter, and I have forwarded that on to Mr. Del Campo.
right. And that was from Attorney Sharon, and he is the president of the CBA.
Correct, Your Honor.
All right. So with respect to it, did all the committee members see Attorney Sharon's letter where he is appreciative of putting this into our rules? Attorney Del Campo, is there? I keep seeing Attorney Bergen. He's moving his hand, but he's not really raising it. So with respect to it, would anyone like to comment on this proposal? I don't see any comment.
Judge Chaplin
Oh,
here. I
Okay,
didn't know if there was a second piece of material included that provided the updated or revised language. I just wasn't sure if Attorney Sullivan had any further comments on that.
I do not.
so Attorney Del Campo, what's our next step now that we've indicated where it's going, the language that's going to be using? Is this going to be sent to the public hearing as a proposal?
Yes, if you voted to go to the public hearing, yes, it'll go to the public hearing in May.
Is there anyone we haven't heard from that we should? And again, I defer to you based on your experience with this committee, or any other committee member who thinks someone else should be commenting before we propose it at the public hearing.
The only other entity, I believe you sent it to the grievance committee, Attorney Slack is here. He had spoken on it previously. I don't know that he has any additional comments, but I don't believe there's any other entity to send it to, Your Honor.
I see Attorney Slack now. Do you want to say anything?
I have nothing to add. Discussion, Your Honor.
Right, and we are obviously not including it in the oath, and they know that it's not something that you can enforce. So we understand your concerns. I'm sure that might generate some discussion with the judges when we send it out as well. So we'll see, again, the feedback that we get once we have it on for a public hearing. But thank you for replying to us. All right, is there any further discussion on the principles of professionalism in 001? I hear and see none, so I guess we can move on to our next item, which is 2024-008, including.
Excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just because we sort of passed, could we take a vote on whether we're going to advance it or not? And then it's.
Oh, I'm sorry. I again, this is my first year, so you want to vote?
Rookie mistake.
I'm good for a vote. That's why I was hoping Attorney Del Campo would jump up and say, take a vote, Your Honor. But yes, thank you, Judge Armada. So
I would move for adoption of the proposal as submitted to the practice book relative to the principles of professionalism, where they're to be placed in with the preamble as has been disseminated.
is there a second? I know that much by now.
Second.
All right. Are there any additions, changes, comments that anyone would like to make? All right, so hearing none, I think all in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I think we have everyone. And any opposed? Seeing none. All right. So Attorney Del Campo, now we can move it on.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes,
Thank
I'll
you.
be quicker. I'll be quicker next time. I'm sorry. Takes me a
And
second to
thank you,
digest.
Judge Armada. Big thanks. Shout out to you. with respect to it, now we can go on to 2024-08. I guess I'm just showing my speed from criminal days. The next case, please. And it's the same as a lot of dockets. So on the certified behavior analyst, we had sent this out for comment, and Judge Diana did respond saying that they could not take it up until January. I don't know if Christina Torres is here. I know she is the proponent of this amendment.
I'm here.
Okay, so we did receive something from Judge Diana, and they have a committee that is going to be looking at this on January 5th. And hopefully they will respond to us. So again, to keep this moving quickly, Attorney Del Campo, are we able to put it on in our January meeting and hopefully have some response from Judge Diana by then?
Yes, Your Honor, that's the 13th, so his meeting is the 6th, I believe, so he should have enough time to. They've talked about it once already, they needed more time, and hopefully by the 6th they'll button it up and be able to send out some comments for the January 13th meeting.
All right, would any committee member like to discuss anything further about this at this time? I don't see any response. And so we just continue it to January. Am I forgetting to do anything on this?
No, Your Honor. You
All
can
right,
just-
and thank you, Ms.
approve.
Torres. I hope you can attend our January meeting. I know it's, we had hoped to get our responses, but hopefully we'll have everything in at that time. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to be heard about this amendment who may not be able to make our January meeting? We could hear from you now if that's all right with the committee.
I noticed Elizabeth Stewart did raise her hand. I'm sorry, I'd
Okay.
just like to hear what you had to say.
Oh, I just had a minor point, and that is just to inquire, since there were some other materials, including from you, that we're seeing for the first time this meeting, whether those were conveyed to Judge Diana and the GAL committee.
Attorney Del Campo, did you send those along to Judge Diana?
If I didn't, I will. I have to
Okay.
look back and I'll
All
send
right.
those.
I can say affirmatively that I did not. So I will make sure he gets them. All right, anything else? Thank you for seeing it, Ms. Torres, because I can't see my whole screen. I only have certain ones coming up, so thank you. And again, we look forward. Are you able to make the meeting in January if we have any questions?
Yes, I'll be able to make the meeting in January.
Excellent, thank you so much.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is 2024-16. That's related, in my opinion, to 2024-20, which is down for the first time, where Attorney Steele wrote in asking for the use of certain names and pronouns for attorneys, parties, and witnesses. So if there is not any objection, I'd kind of like to combine those two agenda items for discussion. I know we still need a lot of work on this, and I'm very thankful that Troy Brown did produce some of the material that we are using currently in judicial. I think he's at our meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes.
Troy, did you want to say anything in addition to what we've received?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you very much. So that inclusive language guide, as well as the quick card, was issued as my correspondence to the committee stated a couple weeks ago. However, you should be aware that I'll be working with Judge Support Services to issue this to all judges in the upcoming weeks. To Chief Court Administrator Judge Bizzuto has given the okay for us to distribute it to judges, and we're going to do so through a number of vehicles, including email, as well as some other vehicles that I want to collaborate with Judge Support Services to get that out. And we may include some additional pieces beyond those documents One, the judges here should be familiar. There is a LGBTQ plus introductory course that is made available to judges, and it is on a calendar that judges have access to. We've had a couple of judges attend that. And there's also some other documents that I want to refresh for judges from the National Center for State Courts who have done similar products with respect to inclusive language use in the courts. So, but I'll be working with Judge Support Services to get that out.
Thank you. Do any of the committee members have any questions for Troy regarding what he's doing? I see Judge Stewart has her hand up, or no? You're on mute.
I have a question, but it's not necessarily directed to Troy. My big question is, do we have some actual proposed language that we're actually talking about? It didn't appear, I tried to read everything, but it didn't look like there was a rule. And my sub questions are, is this only going to, obviously what Troy is working on is with respect to the judges and the other court staff and basically everyone that works for the judicial branch. But my question is, are we coming up with some kind of rule that's also going to apply to the attorneys and to the litigants? Because I'm kind of wondering whether it belongs in the practice book.
Oops, I'm on mute now. I don't think, again, this is a very big project, and I think that we're really at the preliminary stages. I'm not sure it would translate into a rule of court, but there's a lot of material, and this may be the type of discussion that really needs to take place maybe in a subcommittee first and come back with some proposals as to how and to handle this. But again, we wanted to start with Troy, just so we knew at least what judicial was doing. And boy, I'm getting a lot of hands up, so I'm going to start with Judge Pearson, and I'll hear what he has to say, please. Yep.
I mean,
it's my understanding, as Justice Alexander said, that there's no pending proposed language at the moment. But I do note that Justice McDonald did suggest adoption of language similar to the Michigan rule, and I think that we do have the language of the Michigan rule that was provided to us. So that's as close as we've gotten. I just wanted to mention that.
Okay, thank you. Attorney Slack, I can see your hand.
Yes, Your Honor. I just wanted to bring to the committee's attention, they may have seen a little bit of publicity about it last week, but there's a federal lawsuit going through the system, and it was recently the Second Circuit overturned the dismissal of it for lack of standing, and that may have some impact on whatever the committee decides to do ultimately down the road, especially if it might apply to attorneys. The lawsuit is challenging Rule 8.47, which concerns discrimination and harassment for the basis of, among other things, gender and gender identity and things of that nature. So I just wanted to point that out to the committee. And my understanding is it'll now go back to the district court for consideration of whether sovereign immunity will defeat it, but it could end up, again, months down the road, having some impact on what goes forward in that regard.
thank you. That was part of the reason for my question.
Yeah. Attorney Petrozelli.
Hi, Justice Alexander. I just wanted to make a comment that the last time I addressed the committee on this issue, although I didn't submit anything written, there was some discussion about the Code of Judicial Conduct Rule 2.3b, which lists a variety of classes one shouldn't be biased against, with race, sex, gender, religion, etc. And I think there may have been some discussion, just casually, about adding to that list gender expression and gender identity. So to the extent that there is a rule where some language could be added, I know this is the Code of Judicial Conduct and not one that's, you know, applicable to attorneys and practitioners generally. But I just wanted to flag that just as something for your own knowledge.
Thank you. I couldn't find my unmute button. other members of the committee want to discuss this? Is there, you know, a consensus that maybe we should break this off into a subcommittee? I see some nods, so. Again, Joe, I'm going to kind of defer to your oops, we have Jenna Cutler, who's raised her hand from an external site.
Hello, can everybody see me? Sorry, it's popping up.
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, I just want to say before the committee moves on to push this either to a subcommittee or to extend it to another date, which seems likely as of today. Attorney Del Campo invited me today. My name is Jenna Cutler. I'm the chair of the LGBT section of the CBA committee to provide any comment. And I just wanted to let you all know that I was here. If there were any questions or concerns that anyone wanted to address or had any questions they wanted someone from the section to address while I'm here. Also, we have not, unfortunately, had the time yet to get the full CBA approval. However, the entire section is in complete support of the Michigan rule as proposed by Justice McDonald. And I'm happy to, address that any further as any of your honors see fit.
Thank you. And thank you for raising your hand and letting us know you were here.
Of course.
Anyone have any questions for Attorney Cutler? Right.
Judge Chaplin, I believe, Your Honor.
Okay, I can never see him, but he'll pop up. Oh, there you are. Okay.
Thank you. Attorney Cutler, how much time do you think the full body will need to review and weigh in for a recommendation on this matter?
I don't believe it's going to be controversial in the nature that many think. I have spoken with our legislative liaison, and we think that it probably will get full support. It's just a matter of getting it in front of the House of Delegates and in front of the Board of Governors. So I imagine we have a meeting, I believe, with the House of Delegates tonight, though it's a bit too late to get anything on the board for that. But I would hope that, and I can work with Melissa Biggs and anybody else from the CBA to get it for the next agenda, so at the next meeting, hopefully it can be addressed and voted on simultaneously.
Would that be in January or February, the next meeting?
I believe I would have to double check. Oh,
this is Melissa Biggs. I can chime in. I would anticipate that we would have full bar approval probably by the end of January.
Okay. So perhaps this makes sense. Justice Alexander, to kick this out to a February date and to have a subcommittee meet prior to then to start gathering more data?
That sounds like a great idea. Is that what we do, Attorney Del Campo? I'll just confirm with our longstanding secretary.
Yes, Your Honor. You normally you would ask for volunteers from members of the committee to spearhead the effort.
Well, Judge Chaplin has been talking and seems to be at least somewhat familiar with it. Can I count you in as a volunteer, Judge Chaplin?
Sure thing.
And can I get another Judge Green, Judge Pearson? Okay, there's a lot of interest. Joe, do we have a cap? Or can we have, that's awesome. The more, again, that you can look at this and hopefully advance this on our agenda. I know it was important to Justice McDonald, and I'd like to see that we can get this moving forward. So with respect to it, given what has been discussed, I'm thinking the earliest is our February meeting so that we can have some input. Is that enough time for Judge Chaplin, Judge Pearson, and Judge Green? Is that enough time for you to meet and discuss and reach out to whoever you think is appropriate?
Should be enough time.
Is there anyone else? Oh, Judge Stewart, I see your hand. That's so much better than those little ones that I miss.
I'm not volunteering for the subcommittee because I'm already sucked into the rules, the chapter 13 stuff. But I do have a comment, and I'm rereading the Michigan rule. It does seem to be really addressed to the court, and I am nervous in light of, I did read that Second Circuit decision this week, and I am nervous about saying that the lawyers and the self-represented people have to comply with something until we see how that other litigation turns out. You know, so, you know, I just throw that out. And the way I read the Michigan rules, it really does seem to be only imposing obligations on us, as opposed to making all the lawyers and the self-represented people do things. So I would tread lightly on those categories of people for now.
Okay, thank you for those comments. Judge Pearson.
And just to answer Judge Stewart on that's where the Massachusetts rule appears to be a little bit more, the emphasis is more on the litigant and the lawyer or the self-represented party or the witness, and that'll be obviously one of the discussions that needs to be had is where should the burden be placed.
Judge Green.
Is there some reason why gender identity and gender expression was not included in the judicial rules? I mean,
No idea. And again, I think all of us are looking forward to what can be reported back. Maybe Attorney Petrozelli has an answer to that.
I mean, I can only venture a guess, but that rule was effective January 1st, 2011 and hasn't been amended since. And so my best guess is that maybe gender identity and expression became part of, I know with judicial contracts, it's 4A 60 and 4A 60A. So I have a feeling that this has just not been brought up to date because there's other categories of protected classes like veterans and victims of domestic violence that haven't been added to 2.3. So I think it's just an updating matter.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard on this proposal at this time? I'm sure it'll have a lot further discussion. Attorney Del Campo, can you explain where we go from here for my benefit as well as everyone else's?
Well, you're going to bring it back in February. The subcommittee is going to meet before then and hopefully sort things out. And then the CBA is going to have their delegates meeting and report back. That meeting is February 10th. If you want to mark that.
Great. Any further discussion on this item? And again, Troy, thank you so much for giving us the materials and for presenting today. Thank you, Attorneys Cutler and Attorney Biggs, for also joining us. And again, we look forward to working with all of you in making a resolution to this proposal.
Thank you, Your Honor. Is it okay that I excuse myself for the remainder of the meeting?
Yes, because we took up, and again, as long as the committee's okay, we took up 2020 with it. I don't think Attorney Steele's here today. Again, my limited technology abilities don't let me see a lot on my screen. No,
I don't see it.
All right. So thank you, Troy. You're all set.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, folks.
So now we are moving on to our item 2024-19, which is a first time being considered, and it is extensive changes to some of the discovery forms, and I guess it was proposed by the CTLA. So I can open it up for discussion, but obviously I think this needs to be looked into by us more carefully, and we also should probably send out again letters suggesting input from various bar organizations to see what their thought is on this, as well as I would say the administrative judges for civil as well as for family. All right, with respect to it, does anyone want to discuss this material at this time? Attorney, I keep saying Attorney, Judge Stewart, sorry.
All right, on this, I do have some substantive concerns that I think maybe to the rule, not to the forms, which I'll admit I didn't sit and try to cross-reference all the numbers and make sure, but generally I thought the forms were fine, the changes that were proposed, and those I think could go out to the defense lawyers and the Bar Association and so on. But with respect to the practice book changes, 13-6 and so on, I myself have some concerns about going straight to the briefing without having, really putting some teeth into the meet and confer process and the affidavit that's required after that. And at the very least, I think the rules ought to be reordered if this is going to be inserted in here. And secondly, in an unrelated but related comment, on Thursday, two of the judges that are civil judges here in Hartford brought to my attention what they consider to be a flaw in these rules with respect to objections. And I looked at it on Friday and said they have a point, but I haven't even had a chance to reach out to Judge Bellis and pass along that concern. And I think all of that should be packaged up before we start sending those rules out to other groups for comment, not to mention, of course, CTLA, I'm sure, would probably have some reaction to what we're doing.
Good afternoon, Your Honors. My name is Carolina Dowd, and I'm actually here from CTLA. So I welcome your comments on this issue, and we absolutely agree that this is something that deserves much more thought and contemplation prior to sending this issue out to the other groups. The reason why we submitted this proposal is because from our review, it appears that it's been over a decade since the standard discovery forms for motor vehicle and for premises liability have been updated. And so in that time, there have been a number of other discovery forms that have gone into effect. And so from a practical perspective, there are some differences which we felt could use some updating in terms of making sure that all of the discovery forms were consistent with one another. And then because of the amount of time that has taken place since there's been updates, there's also some advances, I think, technologically that the forms could use in terms of the information that litigants are entitled to through standard discovery. I absolutely agree with Judge Stewart's comments in terms of the practice book rules, the proposed revisions that we had suggested in this proposal. We felt, and I don't know, Your Honor, what sort of issue was brought to your attention with regard to the objections, but one of the reasons why we submitted the proposal from our perspective was that we likewise felt like, practically speaking, there was a gap in terms of how objections to discovery are handled between judges and between judicial districts. So that was one of the reasons why we had made the proposal. We've had the pleasure of serving on working groups in the past with respect to practice book rule changes and discovery form changes, and we felt that the time was ripe to maybe for the courts to consider having a working group, which would include members of other organizations that practice within the scope of the practice rules as well as the discovery forms, to be able to collaborate and really then come back to this committee with a submission that everybody is on board with. So I just wanted to kind of give the background as to why this proposal was made, and I'm certainly happy to try to answer any comments that Your Honors may have.
Does anyone have any questions for Attorney Dowd? Thank you for, again, these team meetings are a little bit of a challenge because I can't see who's here. So thank you for jumping in on the conversation. Would anyone like to ask Attorney Dowd some questions? Again, I'm looking at the screen I can see, but I don't see anyone. Are there any other people from the public who wanted to be heard on this proposal? I know we have some non-committee people on. Anyone want to comment also before we start moving this forward? And I don't see anything. Attorney Del Campo, with respect to this, this probably needs to go over at least until February.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm not exactly
And-
sure. I'm not exactly sure who you thought it should go to. I mean, there needs to be some fixing of it before it goes out to any other groups, so I'm not sure
Well,
of that process.
One of the things Judge Stewart said is maybe just start with the forms, because that would be a very like reachable goal for our rules committee year, because we have to have everything, I guess, wrapped up. And maybe if we could do that with reaching out, I think, to probably Judge Bellis and Judge Diana. I don't think that they would impact anyone else that I can think of. I don't even know if it really impacts Judge Diana. It might just be Judge Bellis.
Yeah, I don't see, the forms are all civil. I don't think that,
Right.
now the rules, yes, that's family
Right.
and civil, but the forms, I think, could go to Judge Bellis and then perhaps after that to the CBA and to the defense lawyers. But the rules, I think we need to hold up a little bit. I
Right,
will
so-
reach out to Judge Bellis soon about the issue raised by Judge Chavez and Judge Morgan, but and then we'll try to get something quickly out to the CTLA people that were responsible for providing this and to the committee.
So what I hear happening, just so, again, Attorney Dowd, if you're going to be reporting back to CTLA, is that we're going to have an immediate review of the forms that you think have not really caught up. And then once the judges start to look at 13.6, 13.8, the discovery rules, then we will start to open it up more, but we want the judges to have a first look, and that would be Judges Bellis and Judge Diana. So why don't we put on, at least for discussion, on this proposal in February as to any amendments that we think are necessary in our forms right now.
Understood. Thank you, Your Honor.
Well, thank you for bringing this to our attention, because again, we want to make sure that we're keeping up with things, so we appreciate it.
Let me just amend my comments. I think that the rules should also be sent at this time to Judge Bellis and to Judge Diana. I just didn't want them going out to, all the public groups and so on at this point. I don't think they're quite ready for that.
Okay. Does
And just
anyone
from,
else?
I apologize for interrupting, but just from a practical perspective, I've been involved on a discovery working group with Judge Bellis previously, and that's generally been the practice, is that attorneys from both sides or from all involved sides would be part of this working group and then work really jointly together to come up with a proposal that can be submitted back to this committee for consideration with the input of both Judge Bellis and the groups who are affected by the proposed changes.
Any other committee members want to be heard on this amendment? Anyone from the public? I'll ask one more time. So our Attorney Del Campo, we're clear who we're getting these out to?
I'm not sure if you want it to go to Judge Bellis, the forms first, without going to CDLA and CBA. I think that's what you said.
Yes.
And then and by what date do you want her reply? February?
She can get back to us in January, so
All
we'll
right.
know, and then we can push over that till February. And again, I'm just trying to keep it on track to hopefully accomplish it in our
Right.
rules committee year, at least the forms part, if we can't get everything done on the rules.
Okay.
And if she can't, we can hear from her in February if she's unable to, because it's a quick turnaround, especially with the holidays.
Right. Okay.
Right, and is there any other discussion on 2024-19? So we'll mark that over to February. We'll look forward to hearing from Judge Bellis, and thank you again, Attorney Dowd.
Thank you, Jeff.
And I think we took up 2020 when Troy was here. So any other matters that the members wish to bring before the committee today? Again, my screen shows a lot of things, but it doesn't show hands and faces all that well. All right, well, with respect to it, then I think, is it that I need to move to adjourn now, Attorney Del Campo?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, then, is anyone moving to adjourn?
So
Move.
Right, second?
I'll second
Second.
Judge Chaplin.
All right, thank you. All right, with respect to it, thank you so much for all your work. I really appreciate it. I know that I'm a kind of novice at this, and I appreciate your patience working with me through my lack of skill when it comes to the whatever these are, Robert's Rules of Parliament. Or so have a very happy holiday. I'll see you in the new year, and thanks again. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you, everyone.
Thank you.